Many fantasy gamers are trying to make the right trade at running back to impact their team. There are some running backs who are getting workload that you can get on the cheap. And what we usually do on this channel on these trade videos is that we take the spreadsheets and we dial them back and look for those players who are getting workload but are not being productive. And those players who are getting touches but are not producing, possibly they're going to be on the cheap in your league. If not, I'll probably have another video the next day with another set of 5 players for you to look at to see if you can get a trade out for. But today, we are looking at 5 running backs who have had 45 touches or more and 40 or less PPR fantasy points in the last 3 weeks. That's weeks 3 through 5. And we're going to go ahead and look at our first running back here. And the first guy we're going to talk about today is Najee Harris. I talked about him the other day, earlier this week. It was one of the bust videos I did covering how he hasn't been living up to his draft day value in fantasy. But right now, 27.1 fantasy points, 9 points per game in the last 3 weeks, 6.5% target share. That's not good. A 6.5% target share is not fun at all for fantasy. 7 targets in 3 weeks. So Kenny Pickett is back under the fold. 2 games in. He likes to sling it deep. We're seeing Deontay Johnson. We're seeing George Pickens get the air yards. That's going to leave some crumbs for the running backs. Also, Jalen Warren's starting to get some touches, some work, and the coaching staff loves him, and he's looking good. 50 touches in 3 weeks, 27 fantasy points. If he continues to still get touches and it's later down the road, we might see him turn together some games. Maybe some games where he falls in the end zone. Maybe some games where the matchup goes his way. The next few weeks is not looking too great matchup-wise, but it may be more lucrative down the stretch. I think here in the next few weeks, he might be even cheaper down the line. A lot of people are making Trent Richardson memes with him. So you know he's going to be cheaper to some people than others. So if you're interested in Najee Harris, kick the tires. This is an indicator that you're getting a running back with touches. Touches equal opportunities, but you might be able to get those touches for cheap. We're buying touches here off the player because touches are expensive at the running back position. Next running back here is Aaron Jones. And I just want to preface this before I go further into this. This is takes from the spreadsheet, and I'm just giving my thoughts from what the spreadsheet says. So these are the least productive running backs who've had 45 or more touches. And usually, when you have 45 or more touches in 3 weeks, you're pretty lucrative from a trade scenario, but we're trying to catch these guys on the cheap. Aaron Jones, though, 30.2 fantasy points, 3 games, 10.1 PPR fantasy points per game, 10.5 target share, looking good. 11 targets, 49 touches in 3 weeks, 65.7% snap share. Of course, he's sharing the backfield with A.J. Dillon. Hasn't had an RB1 week since week 2, so been kind of volatile. So another guy getting touches. A lot of people like the Green Bay offense, even when it's humming or when it's not. It's just because it's the Green Bay offense. If that's a running back you're into, now might be a good time to strike. You may want to look at Aaron Jones and see if you want to get him on your team. Again, the production's not matching the workload, so when that happens, that creates a buying opportunity because you obviously want running backs who are getting touches, and if this is one of the running backs you're into, go ahead. Next one, Alvin Kamara. He's missed a game in this 3-week span, but still has 30.7 PPR fantasy points, 15.4 per game. I don't really look at him as a buy. I look at him a guy that his manager is probably still holding on to pretty good, but you still might be able to sneak away with him because there was a time a couple weeks ago where it was a little bit of a buy. 20.3% target share, 13 targets, 46 touches, 71.2% snap share. I don't look for you to be able to get him. That missed game really impacts his overall point total. If he played 3 on us, he would be probably well in the 40s, 50s, 60s. So, again, he's not really a buy, but he could be. He really could be because he did miss that game. He was a bye a few weeks ago, so maybe you can kick the tires and still get him. I just don't see him as likely as the other players on the list. This guy next is definitely a guy you can get on the cheap. It just depends if you want him or not. And that's Ezekiel Elliott. 32.4 fantasy points in 3 games. 10.8 fantasy points per game right now in those 3 games. But a 4.2% target share, not looking good on 3 targets. 59 touches in 3 weeks. So almost 20 touches a game, right? So that's looking good. 64.4% snap share. The thing about Zeke is we know the Zeke game right now. It's not looking good. It's been like this for a couple years. However, if you want to flip a wide receiver and buy some running back touches, because you're just buying the touches here and hope for the game script to flip over for him on a few matchups and use him as an RB2 or whatever, because the days of him being a trustable RB1 are over with, then you may want to think about that. If you have extra liquidity at your wide receiver spot or even the tight end spot and you want to make that flip, you may be even able to get him with your backup quarterback. He is that low in value. Really depends on how your league mate values him. The next guy is Joe Mixon. 36 fantasy points in 3 games, 12 points per game right now, 13.7% target share, 14 targets, 60 touches, 72.8% snap share. Bengals offensive line hasn't been that great this year. This offense has been weird considering what they were last year. Him, Jamar Chase, just the volatility in the offense. Volatility, though, creates buying opportunities. I don't look for him to be a buy in many leagues because I feel like managers are going to be holding strong on him. But if you can catch him at a discount and you want him, go get him. You may have to give a running back and a receiver, maybe a lesser running back, and a midline, upper midline wide receiver, and that might be able to get the job done. You may have to pay a little bit. He's not going to be cheap, but he's going to be discounted or possibly discounted if his manager is scared, or if his manager is like 0-5, 1-4, 2-3, or whatever. You might be able to get a deal done. If they have holes on their roster, you might be able to get it done with this trade. If you make the right offer, you probably got to be very meticulous with it. My take on these guys, I always give my take at the end. The guys I'm really going after, I want Mixon, but he might be too expensive. Ezekiel Elliott, if I can get him super cheap, probably not, because I might as well hold him at that point, but you never know. Fantasy's a sprint right now, especially redraft. You might be able to catch him with some ridiculous offer. Alvin Kamara, I just don't think I could get him in many leagues, but he's good to look at on the spreadsheet. Aaron Jones, there's a lot of volatility here. I feel like he's still a little bit expensive, and I feel like I'm not going to be able to get him at a reasonable price. Najee Harris is getting cheaper, and the fact that things could flip later on down the line down the season might be a good play. Really depends on what the other manager wants. But if I can sell my wide receiver 3 or a quarterback or a lesser running back that I don't like or whatever, I just got to be creative. I might be able to get it done. I also think in a week or two it'll be a little cheaper, and that's probably when I'm looking to buy. Maybe not right now. Maybe not right now. I get it. You clicked on this video to look at players to buy, but we're also talking strategy. I think if you want to try and get Najee Harris, I'd wait another week or so. We got that Tampa Bay game coming up. We got some matchups that are not too sexy. Maybe Kenny Pickett starts unraveling, starts doing some things here in the next few weeks. Maybe that'll help him out, and maybe you can catch him on the cheap and then get some production later. But you got to remember, that's still a gamble. That doesn't mean it's going to hit. That means you're just getting a running back who's getting touches on the cheap. Also, if you want some of the Steelers running back game, maybe pick up Jalen Warren if you got bench spots to burn. Most of you guys don't if you're in basic redraft leagues. But that's it. These are 5 guys to look at for trades. I'll work on another spreadsheet and have another 5 guys up here soon so we can look at them to see if we can catch some discounts here in the markets in our fantasy leagues. Some of these won't work for you, but I guarantee you, if I do enough videos, you'll find one, especially at the wide receivers, because those are easier to find. Running backs a little bit harder because people do not want to let go of good running backs, so you really have to take some gambles at that position. But let me know in the comments below what you think, who you're trying to trade for this week, how you're trying to make your teams better. Also, smash that like button on the way out. Really helps the video and the algorithm. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. I'm knocking out content like this left and right. Trade scenarios, waiver wire help, rankings, film studies, anything I can think of, I posted here. But I want to thank you, and I'll catch you on the next video.